This is an interesting little bit of news. Uh, there was an interview that somebody did with one of the hostages of Hamas from the October 7th incident, and turns out that Trump was not who they were wanting to get elected. Think about that. Who are the pro Hamas protesters primarily supporting? They primarily support the Democrats. They don't like it because with Trump in office, they know that they are not going to get their way. These are terrorists. These are people who hide behind children, women. They hide behind innocent people. Whereas you take the Israeli military, U.S. military, so many other militaries, we stand in front of the innocents. Their military, Hamas has been organized as a military. Hamas has been elected as the primary government in part of this, but in the Palestinian lands that you know they've had control of for so long, they're elected. They have a military, which is Hamas. Hamas is a government entity. They're everything for some of the Palestinian lands, or the lands that are called Palestine. Um, but they get behind the innocents. So let's let you hear this. Plus, there's some information about Iran in this little interview that I find interesting that people don't pay attention to. So I thought I would put this whole interview in. It's only like 4 minutes.
Howdy, y'all. This is Paul, the Redneck Thinker. What we have here is a channel to communicate. I want you folks to be thinking by the time you leave my videos. Why? Because I'm tired of people talking via what other people tell them to think. So, watch my video and enjoy the chance to think for yourself.
They were very scared of him. Yeah, they wanted
Who?
terrorists.
We're afraid of Trump.
Yeah, they wanted Kamala to be chosen, to be elected.
You talked politics with them?
Yeah. They wanted Kamala to be elected. When Trump became president, yeah, the way they treated us changed. For me, personally, this is what I
think
felt.
because they anticipated that a deal would come soon.
Yeah.
And that's when they started giving you more food.
Exactly. More food, treated me better, stopped cursing me, stopped spitting on me.
There you have it. Katie McFarland joining us this morning here in New York City. Katie, welcome back. They're scared of Trump.
You bet they're scared of Trump. And it's the same story all along, whether it's Iran, whether it's Russia, whether it's Hamas. They were all tapping along the Biden administration. Oh, we're going to have great negotiations. Oh, it's going to lead to something. It never led anywhere. And as a result, each of those countries got more of what they wanted. Now there's a new sheriff in town.
Look, Israel's under enormous pressure right now not to go further into Gaza. Is Trump holding them back?
I don't think it's Trump. I mean, they're under enormous pressure from the world, right? Because the world is anti-Israel. I mean, Europe especially. I think what Trump is doing is he wants them to finish the job and finish it quickly. But let's give Iran a little bit more time to negotiate. Because Iran, remember, is a supporter of Hamas. Iran is the one that kept Hamas alive. So they're really two sides of the same coin. I think Trump has got in his head, he's got a time frame. And he's not going to be, as he said, I'm not going to be tapped along by these guys like Biden was. And so whether it's a week, a month, 6 months, I don't think it's a year, and I don't think it's more than 6 months.
Trump says he told Prime Minister Netanyahu, don't bomb Iran because a nuke deal was very close, his words.
Right.
A nuke deal very close. Well, where are we with Iran? Are we close?
There's only one thing that matters about a nuke deal with Iran, and that's the centrifuges. The centrifuges spin around. Think about a salad spinner. It spins a little bit and it gets low enriched uranium, which is what's used in reactors for civilian use. You spin the same reactor around a few more times and you get highly enriched uranium, which is what is used in a bomb. So the real debate is not, does Iran promise I'm not going to spin it anymore? Or do you say, get rid of the salad spinner, get rid of those reactors, get rid of the centrifuges, and then we'll have an Iran without nuclear weapons?
But you could never accept an Iranian promise. Oh, we'll
No,
stop.
of course not.
You can't accept that.
You got to have.
They would never do that.
You got to have snap. You have the ability. They have to have the ability to have snap inspections wherever they want, whenever they want, because Iran has shown in the past it's built these secret inside the mountain facilities that nobody knows about. But you've got to have the ability. You know, as Ronald Reagan said, trust but verify.
Exactly. But you'd have trouble verifying it. So supposing they agreed, okay, yeah, we'll stop the spinning, and yeah, you can come and inspect, and then something would go wrong with the inspection, and they wouldn't see it all, and they'd be cheating. I mean, honestly, who could possibly trust the Iranian mullahs after all the experience we've had with them for 45 years?
I wouldn't trust him at all, but you have either that or what's the alternative? I think that if you have really significant ability to look and see with thermal imaging, you have inspectors who can go wherever they want, whenever they want, no questions asked, they can get there now. They don't wait 2 minutes, they don't wait 2 hours. They have to have really significant ability to verify.
Okay, do you think the Iranians would agree to that?
I don't know. You know, Trump keeps saying we do this the easy way, we do this the hard way. The easy way is you get rid of your reactors, you get welcomed into the world community, we'll regularize your economy, you'll be prosperous and at peace. The hard way, we crush your economy.
I think we've crushed it already, actually.
Oh, no, there's a lot more we can do to crush the Iranian economy.
Okay, glad to hear it. KT, thanks for joining
Thank you.
I want you to hear this old interview. This came about a year ago. This came, about May of 2024. Here is an explanation of how Hamas, Iran, and Hezbollah, Hamas and Hezbollah are known terrorist groups, how they're using the protests that were on the campuses. All these protests that are on these campuses. This emboldens Iran, Hamas, Hezbollah. They love this. They love the violence, such as what that Elias Rodriguez fella just did when he took out the 2 members of the Israeli embassy. They love this. They want to spread chaos. They want to weaken America. You heard that that Hamas was wanting Kamala elected. So let's hear this interview. This, like I said, this about a year ago, but it tells you exactly what they're thinking in all this.
Well, for further insight, I'd like to welcome in Norman Rule, the former senior U.S. intelligence official. Norman, it's great to speak with you again. First of all, I'd like to start with what Robert just ended on there. What is the significance of a Hamas response to these U.S. protests?
Good afternoon. It's extraordinary. It's not just the Hamas response. We've seen the supreme leader of Iran, the largest state sponsor of terrorism in the world, note the accuracy that a Hezbollah flag was seen at one of the demonstrations. And again, Hezbollah has killed hundreds of Americans. So in essence, you have Hezbollah, Hamas, and Iran all responsible for the deaths of hundreds of Americans, kidnapping of Americans, praising what they see as support within the United States for those groups. It's an extraordinary development, and it will actually embolden these actors to continue their aggression against the United States and other people in the region and make them less likely to accept diplomacy and political outcomes.
And Norman, what does the support by Hamas do to the credibility of these protesters? Because many of them say they are demonstrating because of the humanitarian crisis happening in Gaza. Yet now we see this Hamas support.
Well, to be clear, we have more than 20 or 30 Americans killed by Hamas. I've not seen that as a powerful narrative in any of the demonstrations. We have 6 hostages, and hostages from many countries. again, doesn't come up in the demonstrations. There are 10 million Sudanese that have been displaced, 500,000 Syrian dead. It could not move any of these people to step out. But their demonstrations consistently talk about the eradication of Israel. They consistently to describe what is going on in Gaza as a genocide. It's a very one-sided argument. And frankly, many of the interviews of the demonstrators show that they don't really know what they're demonstrating about, but they're just against Israel. This is an extraordinary development, and as I say, it must make people in Tehran, Beirut, and Gaza, the terrorists, very pleased.
Well, what do you think about how school officials have been handling the protests so far, especially as we are seeing them spread?
Well, our Constitution enshrines the right for peaceful protest, and we should protect that and endorse that because that's who we are as a people. However, once people break the law, whatever the laws and conditions are at that location, we shouldn't allow them to get away with this, because if they get away with it, why can't someone else who protests something else do the same thing? And you have sort of an unraveling of the protections that go with students who live at these colleges, who have a right to study, Jewish students who want to feel safe. Their state of mind, their well-being is also critical to protect.
And Norman, the president has released statements, I'm thinking over the weekend, addressing these protesters. But do you think the White House will be forced to address this issue in a more meaningful way?
My sense is that the administration has tried to come down on both sides of the issue. The president, I believe, has stated that he condemns violent protests, and he also has talked about the need to understand what Palestinians are going through. In the end, I think he's going to put the responsibility for the actions that are taken against the protesters to the cities and the states where these are taking place, in part because he wishes to avoid the political blowback.
Norman Rule, we certainly appreciate your input. Thank you as always.
You're welcome.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.
Now, let me be clear about this. I rarely agree with Chris Cuomo. I really do. I rarely agree with Chris Cuomo. But he has been talking about the rise of this radical group that support Hamas, that the radical Islam. They are the folks that are getting a rise nowadays. These are the people that you're seeing on these campuses. Okay, if you want to practice your free speech, you don't violently take over a building and then destroy it. I mean, the Washington campus, they did a few $1 million worth of damage, maybe more than a few million. I don't know what kind of damage they did at that library at New York City at Columbia. I mean, they go into these places and they just destroy. You see what they do on these campuses. They're not protesting. They're camping out. They're begging for food and other items from everybody while cheering on American citizens being taken hostage, American citizens being taken out. These people want violence. I'm not for that. If you want to come to me and have a conversation about your beliefs about Hamas, great. I'm pro-Israel. I want to discuss that. I have no problems with that. But if you're wanting to cause violence, if you want to cheer on violence, no, I'm not going to support that. If you are supporting terrorism, no, I don't support that. But if you want to peacefully say that, hey, there are things that you don't agree with, okay, fine. I will support your right to say that if you want U.S. to divest from Israel, that's your right to say that. If you want to say that the U.S. should not put the kind of money that we put into Israel, okay, that's your right to say that. I have no problems with you discussing that. I sit here and I talk my talk. I give you what I believe. Not everybody agrees with me. I have had people threaten me with the good time. I want the good. I'm joking. Um, I'm an old man. If you beat me up, I am recovering from a long medical condition. So if you beat me up, the only thing that's going to be is you beat up a guy that's still recovering from a medical issue. If I beat you up, then you're saying that you can't take an older guy who's recovering from a medical condition. Seriously, it doesn't make any sense to try to threaten me with violence. It might actually cause me to giggle. Even if I get bloodied and battered, I might giggle about it. Why? Because it's silly. You don't have to be violent in this country. You can speak your mind. If you want to yell at each other, fine. But supporting a terrorist group, no, I can't support that. I you're supporting terrorism. I don't see that as a free speech. I see that as criminality. And you see what that criminality did with that Elias Rodriguez feller. You see what that did with emboldening these terrorist groups with what happened on October 7th in Israel in 2023. You see what this does around the world. I can't support that. But hey, this has been Paul, the Redneck Thinker. Y'all have a good day now. Bye. So, folks, that's the story that I wanted to bring you on this video. And I just wanted to say thank you again for coming by. Hit like, subscribe, comment, all that fun stuff if you don't mind. Help me out. So, y'all have a good day now. Bye.